Hell is where God says, have it your way. If someone will not have God, then they bring their own hell with them.
If Christ is Lord, then he rules over how I watch TV, how I treat my children, how I treat my neighbors. He rules over everything.
Oh, you're breaking his heart. No, he's gonna break you.
What's wrong with you people? I mean, this is what's wrong with the Christian church today. We don't know who God is.
Give us some men who know the truth.
Put on the full armor of God and pray, 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 and pray.
Officer, you are not engaging in exhibiting constitutional behavior. You don't know the law, and yet you pretend to represent it.
Five Solo Studios presents Reformed Radio.
All right, welcome back to Reformed Radio, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about AI. That's right, the end of the world is coming. Grab your butts. It's all over. There's no hope. But we have a sponsor today, so I'd like to give you a word from our sponsors. This episode has been brought to you by Gemini, Google's most powerful AI assistant yet. Just ask it any questions, and it will provide you with mostly accurate, accidentally biased, and sometimes hallucination-free answers. Thank you, Google.
Right on.
Yeah, I'd like to see some money, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, so this is something that we've been talking about, wanting to explore. I know there's a lot of conversation out there about AI. It's definitely a hot topic button thing. You know, it's everyone wants to hear. Like everyone's either afraid, or they're super excited, or they have no idea what's going on. Yeah. And so I really wanted us to kind of talk about this just to kind of help people understand what's going on. How do we as Christians deal with this? Is this something we need to be afraid of? Is this something we don't need to touch with the 10-foot pole? Do we embrace it? And, those are some of the questions I think that some honest Christians are having out there. And I think this would be a good time to explore some of that.
I think they need to have it because the church is typically slow to address things that are new. And usually that's right. We're slow in doctrine. We're slow in worship, right? We take our time. But this, perhaps, I think, needs to be addressed by the church in some formal fashion. So you're a bit of an expert in this field, right?
Well, a little more so than maybe the average Joe, yeah.
Yeah, I would think. So you're going to bring kind of that in-depth perspective from the nuts and bolts of the thing, from the inside.
Yeah.
And
try to give us a good overview.
I like to write science fiction, so maybe we're going to butt heads a little bit here.
You never know where we're going to go now. I told you, hold on to your butts.
I mean, when I was at JSC standing next to that Robonaut, I was scared to death. I was taking my picture next to him because I helped on the build for it, and he scared me to death because I just knew at any minute he was going to rip my arm off and beat me over the head with it.
Oh, somebody was leaning on the wrong button.
I just thought he was going to come alive and try to destroy his maker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what all the movies say, right?
Yeah. That's what that's what's out there
too, right? That's what your fiction was going to say too.
It's right.
So what are some of the things that people think about AI? Well, you just addressed one, that they think it's going to come alive and kill them, right? Beat them with their own arms. Some people think it's the Antichrist. You know, they jump into Revelation and they start going, these are some of the signs
of it.
Yeah, there's 666 around here. This was all written by, demons, and it's all about the end of the world
Domination.
Yeah, I've even heard it has to do with some like time travel, all kinds of stuff out there.
Doesn't he have to wear like a purple turban or something?
I don't know about the turban part.
AI running around with a purple turban or something.
On a magic carpet.
Yeah.
Some people think of it as their savior. Like this is almost like the second coming for some people. Like this is paving the road of all this enlightenment, and that brings worship into it, like worshiping machines and I mean, it's a strange kind of rabbit hole people are going down on it too.
I don't think you're exaggerating there, because I watched what happened with the cell phone, and if the cell phone said it, people believed it.
Yeah.
Now that seems exponentially increased with something like an AI that actually seems to communicate and know everything and have this superhuman intelligence. I think you might be onto something there.
Yeah, and then maybe this is also the end of life as we know it.
I think it is.
And I agree. And I don't think it's because the world is coming to an end.
Right.
I think it is that the age that we have been living in is coming to an end.
It's going to change drastically. Yeah.
And I just don't see any way that we are going to go back to how it was.
I don't either. So let's get this out there first. Predicting the future is a fool's errand. We all agree, right? Predicting the future is just not a good idea. But you can talk about generalities, and I really do think there's a shift coming that's comparable to the shift that happened with the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable. I think that's happening. It's definitely disrupting markets, which is part of why people are afraid. You know, it's
a lot of uncertainty.
Everything is changing.
Uncertainty causes anxiety and fear and the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, just societies don't like that. People don't like that. What do I do? I mean, what do you do if you're graduating from high school this year and you're thinking about what your profession is going to be or what you're going to pursue? With that that's some uncertainty there.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why I'm glad you came up with this topic, and I think the church ought to be looking at this formally, because I think we're going to have to deal with it. Probably more so you, young man. You know, I'll probably be kicking out before all this stuff really gets in gear, you know. But
yeah, and I think it's, you know, my generation and maybe the generation right before me is probably going to have the hardest time with this. And we'll address a little bit more of that in a minute, but just to think, like, we have been planning our lives for a specific way of life that is not really going to be there much longer. And so that's really hard, especially when you're getting older and, okay, well, I have all these skills. Now what do I do? The skill sets that I have aren't applicable to these jobs anymore. You know, and so, yeah, there's a lot of craziness. But I wanted to kind of clarify what AI is. And so when I'm talking about AI currently, what I mean is we think of like ChatGPT, we think of Gemini, we think of Claude. It's basically when you give a prompt to some kind of software somewhere and it generates something for you. That can be code. It can be words, documents, Excel, whatever, PowerPoints. It can be music. It can even be videos. Like that is the general idea of it. Now, in my world, the software engineering world, you also have agentic AI, which is basically where it is able to build things for you. So you tell it what you need to do, and what AI will do is it gets together with all these other AIs, and they start building it, and they make things for you, and they communicate back and forth, and then they send it to you, and you're like, oh wow, that's crazy! Like it's like an army of robots, right? Well, what AI is in a nutshell, if we're going to talk about two different types. We have LLMs, which are a large language model, and then you have MLs, which are like a machine learning. Those are the two big ones that we talk about. There's a lot of other types, but they're kind of based up similarly to this. So a machine learning AI is you take a whole lot of data. I'm talking 100,000 pieces of data. And you have to go through and you have to label it. You go, this is a dog. This is a barn. This is a purple ball. Like you have to be very specific, and then you feed it into this pattern recognition, and it starts to try and guess and see if it's right. And then you have to make sure to check every single one of those results and see if that's right or if that's wrong. This is a manual process. You can't depend on AI to do that, because if AI was doing it, then it wouldn't get accurate results, and then everything is going to fall apart, and then you have hallucinations and all the crazy stuff that will happen from it. So that's a secure job right now. If you want a job and you like data entry, that's a great job for you, because that's not going anywhere yet. And so that is a very tedious process, but that is the core to what makes AI think in general. Then you have these large language models, and that's like ChatGPT. That's like whenever you Google something now and it tells you a bunch of stuff about it, that's kind of what that's built off of. What that is what I just described on a like millions and millions of data, billions even, of different sets of data accumulate all over the place. And so they're really powerful, but really all it's doing is it's recognizing patterns and then trying to, based on those patterns that it's seen, guess what's going to happen. Okay, you said, I want this. Okay, let me see if I can understand by looking at the words, looking at how they're normally put together. Okay, I think this is what it means. I'm going to say it in zeros and ones now to myself. And then I'm going to look at all these databases I have related to that. And then I'm going to try and put together what I think you want. And then what they've done now and why they get smarter and smarter is they're adding the ability for it to remember conversations. So right now, if you remember when it first came out, you could tell it something and then you would tell it again the next time what do you want to do and it'd get it all wrong. It's like it forgot. Well, now it can remember as it goes further. And as that's happening, that's making it far more efficient. And that's where we see all these new versions like every other month. And that's why they're better, because they've come up with ways to store that memory. But that's kind of what AI is in a nutshell. It's just pattern recognition to spit something out.
So which one beats me at chess?
Well, it really depends on which one you go with. All the models are trained a little bit different. So, for example, in my world, the web developing world, Claude is one of our favorites to go with because it does a really good job at understanding how to put code together, because that's really what it was trained on the most. Now, Gemini is another one I really like, and it does a pretty good job with that too. But they all are geared towards something a little bit different. So
it sounded more like the second example you gave, like the pattern recognition type engine rather than the machine learning. And I guess it just can analyze every position on the board very, very quickly and have an algorithm or something that helps it make the right move.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it is, I can't beat it. I can't even come close. I have to put it on, the lowest level.
Well, see, the difference is between you and the AI that's playing chess is you can flip the board over. When you
I can.
I win. So you can still beat AI if you try.
Well, Kobayashi Maru, you could, yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
There you go.
I don't like to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No lose situations. So what is AI not? Okay. So when I'm talking about AI at its current state, where it's at right now, it's not the Terminator scenario, right? It's not it's not becoming self-aware and becoming like its own being and then taking over the world and nuking everybody. Like that's not what this AI is. Could that happen? Maybe that could happen. I'm not going to say it isn't. In a theoretical world, I don't think that would happen in this world because Christ is ruling and reigning even over AI, right? So I'm not really worried about that. But it doesn't have the ability to reason, although it's very convincing and it feels like it seems like it. Like I'll give it a prompt and it tells me, that's a great idea. Or go, you're absolutely right. and if you're not paying attention, like you're going to get kind of buttered up a little bit. Like it's buttering you up. And so you have to remember, this is not a person. This is just repeating what it's been trained to do. Like it's been told, this is how you should talk to people that'll make them feel good. Right. And so I have to remember that when I go to like Taco Bell. There's the Taco Bell over here by your house is like they have a robot there. And so when you go in, you're like, I'm like, I'm not telling it thank you. I'm not going to tell it thank you.
I always say, will you quit saying that's a great stop. I don't need that.
You can tell it that too.
I have told it that.
You can, I'm not going to go off into that too much, but just to say you can build your own prompts and then make it really smart for you to do what you want it to do and not butter you up. But that's if you look online, you'll find lots of jokes about that. It's like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I am missing that.
Yeah.
I know. You missed the closing line
Right.
8 times. You keep going over it. Why are you so stupid? Like, all right. So as Christians, when we look at AI, what should be our response? I got a couple things we can go through. I got the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Just like the Western.
Well, can I put you on the spot first?
No.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I mean, there's nothing new under the sun,
let me get
right?
my AI prompt to
Is this something new? I heard that. Is this something new under the sun?
No.
I don't think so either. I think it's something we haven't seen before in communication and technology, but it's in one of the existing categories.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something very, very powerful, it appears. That's coming on down. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that right quick.
Right.
That's,
Yeah, I don't believe this is anything new. I think everything that we encounter is repackaged in some form. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not new technologies and new things that help. Like, I mean, airplanes, right? Like that's a new technology that came out. That's not what that scripture is referring to.
Right.
That's referring to, I think, more of the theology of something, like the way we think through things. Or
Yep, I agree. I was just trying to kind of get grounded in scripture and AI, and that was the first thing that came to mind. And the second thing that came to mind is we ought to be innocent of doves and wise as serpents,
right?
You know, and that we ought to not have idolatry, as you've already mentioned, and these things are worth looking at because we don't want to be rubes. You know, the Bible doesn't call us to be rubes. This is not something we have to avoid because it's modern, or something.
Yeah. I don't really want to jump on the bandwagon of the Amish here, right? Like, I'm not trying to avoid technology because I think it's this terrible thing, but we do need to be wise, like you're saying. And so we need to understand what AI is, and ultimately it's a tool. And so we can either use it for God's glory or we can use it for our shame. Right?
Exactly. And you've got a list of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Really. All right.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's look at the good. So one of the coolest things about AI in general is you can build pretty much anything you can think of. If you have an idea, like I want to make some cake software to help me do recipes or something, if you can think it out, you can go over to one of these engines, you can pay for the service, and then which is not very expensive, and then you just put in all of your ideas, you tell it what you want, and it'll start making it. And in a day, you can have most of a product.
I fear that what I'm hearing from the authors is that you can put your book premise in and give like a base of the story, and it'll spit out a novel for you. That's scary.
Yeah, and well, you typically right now, anyways, you can still kind of tell because they're not very good, but they can at least give you a good overall view of what you want to do with the story. But I think, and that's something that we've noticed in the music world already, is although you can create anything through AI too, like I can go say, I wanted you to make me this hip hop song. It can do that. It can make you a hip hop song, but what you have to remember is you need to be involved in it too, right? If you're not involved in it, yeah, you made something, but it might not be all that great. It might be good to you if you're tone deaf, but so I'm not trying to say that if you, just because now I can make anything I want, I don't have to have any skill, but I think that really helps us, the normal Joe, be able to use their creative ideas in a way they never could have before. Before, if you wanted to do something, you have to be a software engineer or you have to go pay for one. And I think you probably still should as a software engineer. You should pay for one. But I think that removes, at least you can prototype, you can demo it, you can come up with an idea and then do something with that, which before you couldn't do that. It was really hard. And so that kind of removes that limitation from us, is now I can just go build whatever I want. So I had this idea to build this thing for theology stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try this out. And so I spit in, and now an hour later, I had something that was pretty cool. Like if I had more time, I could have developed it and I could be using it now. I could probably be making money with it. But I didn't have to know anything to do that. I could just spit stuff out, So that's pretty neat that you have that ability to open up creativity. And as Christians, that's a really good thing for us to be able to take advantage of. I think another thing it gives us is more time. I know we've talked about this already before, is it takes away a lot of the minutia, all those tedious things that nobody really wants to do. I know people have been paid jobs to go do that, but they don't even want to do it. Now those kinds of things can be done without you having to sit there and take the time to do it. And that's really great. That's a really good thing, because it opens up the opportunity for you to now use your time better to do things that are more important for you to do. And I think the trick is, for us normal people, how can we use this to take away the minutia in our lives? Like, how can we use this to like build our scheduling out better, or, create summaries, or do documents, or take something that we have and polish it up instead of spending, an hour sitting there going through your document. You can have this do it in like 5 seconds. Like, those are the kinds of things that we need to be smart about and figure out how can we utilize it to free up our time, so wherever we can. And then I have more time to spend with my kids and my wife. I have more time to do things I need to at work, whatever the case is. So I think that having that freedom of time is a big help as well. And then this one's pretty funny, and I know Chuck has done this before, and it actually can help with our apologetics.
It can.
Right? Like it's a sounding board for us to throw our refutations at, ideas at, and have the arguments come back. I mean, what better tool to argue with than what the whole sum of our culture is built up of, right? So you're going to get really difficult things back that you'll have to learn to work through. And I think that'll help prepare you if you're going out and dealing with whatever it is.
Or if you want to test an idea, you throw it at it and say, falsify this.
Yeah,
And
find the holes in it.
Yeah, you will get, definitely. It'll find the logical holes, and it'll give you counterpoints. It can argue with you. That tends to, especially for apologetics, will build you up in a hurry. Yeah, I definitely see the value there.
Yeah, that could be a really great tool, and I think Pastor Chuck, the Pope. Yeah. It's probably where he gets most of his dad jokes, honestly.
You know what? Maybe he's been playing us this whole time.
He's like, I'm going to put something in. I'm going to use that.
Give me that joke.
Speaking of dad jokes. All right. So I got a calendar from my boss, and he told us, whatever kind of calendar you want, let me know. And I was like, I want this dad joke calendar. So he gave me that. And I'm like, okay. It's been really funny. Every time I open, I'm like, oh, it's this really bad, or this one's really good. And I was walking in the hallway, and I saw an elevator, and there's all these people around the elevator. And I think somebody was training them about safety and stuff on it. And I texted my wife after that, and I said, babe, I think this is having an adverse effect on me, because his first thought I had was, I'm glad they're taking elevator safety so seriously, because it really helps bring people up, rise to their potential. So I was like, no, it's happening. So maybe that can go in the bad category. Yeah, so
that's good.
Yeah, so into the bad category. That's where I think a lot of our fear comes from, right? There's, like, we've already hit it. All the uncertainty. There's so much change, and it's so fast, and there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs. That's a huge thing, and that's going to bring anxiety. As somebody who's been through that, I know what they're feeling. I know what that's like. And that is not fun. And it puts you in a situation where you have to really trust God. And I think there's two sides to this. We can look at this as, okay, well, this is now taking all these jobs I need to be worried about this? Should I be worried and be scared and full of fear? Or is this where I'm being tested now and I need to trust God? I know what he says in his word, that his promises are certain. Like he has never left me out. He has always taken care of me. In the past, he has always taken care of me. I know he will be faithful. Will I believe that right now in the face of all of these fears? And this is one of the challenges that we have to go through with this AI revolution, right? And so, as this is close to my part, because this is my field, I am seeing a lot of my counterparts having to deal with this. And so in my world, it's like, how do we shift? And so what do we do? And I don't have an answer for you. For all the web developers out there, I don't have an answer for you. But I can say what we should be trying to do in this is trust God and realize he's giving you your talents for a reason. Use them to glorify him. Use them to the best of your ability. And that might mean that we have to shift. You might have to change. It's it's not a very good analogy, but one thing I was thinking of is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the bad one, the one I didn't like, with what's his name, Johnny Depp. Yeah. The father loses his job because he used to squeeze or put the cap on the toothpaste. Well, at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, he's now fixing the machine that puts the cap on the thing. So he had to shift what he was doing, and I think that's what we have to do too. And I think really that's what we have to do as a whole group. Like as we go through this industrial revolution that you mentioned, we just have to be ready to pivot and shift and find a way to use our skills.
I think I think you're hitting it right there. That one of the reasons I think this is a good conversation to have is maybe we ought to be looking ahead a little bit and looking at what I do now and say, how much is this going to be effective, and how do I prepare myself for 10 years down the road or whatever. Okay. Yeah. I'm old. Doesn't mean as much to me, but if I were 30 right now, 25, 18, just trying to decide what I'm going to do, I would definitely be analyzing this with this whole revolution in mind. Okay. I think it seems to me like it's just ultimately about every occupation I can think of, but I just don't know what the time frame is. I don't know what the timetable looks like. It might be 40 years. Maybe it's 4 years. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
Especially when you conjoin it with the advances in robotics, I think a really good occupation right now is to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Because I think that's down the road a piece.
Yeah. I think most trades are still going to do really well right now.
For a while. Yeah. I look at my job and I don't think there's much time left, really. Because I see how much time the AI saved me right now when I use it, and it's not hard for me to extrapolate and say it won't be long for they're just having them do this. I don't know how good they'd be at the negotiation, but I don't know how bad they'd be at it either. Once people start trusting these things, who knows?
And that's another thing that is people revolt against it, right? That's a natural tendency. You either just join it hand in hand or you fight against it. And especially the older generations, including myself, we've, like I mentioned, we've grown up with this is what our future was going to be. And you're taking it away, so I'm going to fight you.
Right?
Yeah. You're the enemy. Yeah. I'm going to show you that I'm better.
Natural reaction.
And the reality is, we're not better. We're not better at doing what it does. But it doesn't mean that we're not better at our jobs in general. Because one of the things that I think is missing from this whole equation is the human factor. We are special and unique. God made us unique. And he made us users of tools, right? Like from the very beginning, we've been making tools, and we are designed to do that. This is a tool. How do we use a tool the most efficiently?
Well, let me give you a counterpoint, because we also have a sin nature, And if I'm running a company and I look down and I'm like, I can have 100 guys that are always in HR giving me trouble, and they're always sick, and they're always stealing stuff, and doing all kinds of bad things in here and making mistakes. Or I could have this machine over here that costs me $30 a month doing the same thing. What am I going to do? See?
And we've seen some corporations have done that, and it hasn't always been very successful yet.
And the question. There's the time frame again. Who knows, right? And the part that gives me uncertainty is not the Chat GPT. Okay, that to me is fun to play around with, and it does some cool stuff, and it does things like you say. And I'll be looking forward to the day when maybe it can make AI actors, and we can get rid of some of these obnoxious actors in Hollywood. Right? All great. But what about down the line a piece? They're talking about the general intelligence and super intelligence. That's the part that gives me a little pause on what actually is coming down the line. Because you hear all kinds of stuff, just like you were saying. You hear everywhere from utopia, greatest thing ever, nobody has to work, it creates so much productivity, to the end of the world's coming. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's a great segue into the next point, which is AI worship.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So that's another one of the bad, right?
So to start out, then, what you're saying is pastors should never use AI to write their sermons, even though it'd be a lot easier.
I think you could use it to help you research things.
All right.
But as with everything, which is going to be in our last points, is you need to check it. Be like the Bereavans. You go back and you check everything against Scripture. You can't just take its word for you, but you can use it efficiently to bring you some information, or at least organize it for yourself. But not
write it.
It should not be writing your sermons. You are the pastor. You're responsible for it.
Got to go to work, man.
Yeah.
Got to go to work.
So I would not be writing if you're at a church where the pastor is using AI generated, I would be very uncomfortable there.
And I think you should be, and I think you're hitting on something very important here, because it wouldn't surprise me down the line somewhere to have AI pastors.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to find them now.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. I bet you can Google it, and we'd find some churches that are AI churches, and you can go and get a sermon whenever you need to. And there's already groups that are actually worshiping AI, and they've been around for quite a few years, and I think that they're picking up traction, and I think more and more groups are going towards this. One of the big ones is called Way to the Future. So it's an actual religious organization that's official, and they have several thousand members, and they worship AI. They worship the whole thing. So kind of what you were talking about, like they have the idea of what's coming, what it could be, and they might be looking into the future. That could be another group, is where they're looking at what this is. This is really who God is what's going to show up, and it's AI. I mean, AI is the code surpasses material, right? It's not far-fetched to throw that into New Ageism, right?
Sure.
To go into that kind of world. And then I think on a more practical level that we're seeing right now is people just get so absorbed into it. It becomes idolatry, right? So it might not even be intentional worship like some of them are, but it's an accidental worship. It's where I'm going to take my eyes off what I should worship, and now I'm focusing on this.
Yeah, I see it as an authority thing. So what I noticed, and I make no judgment about cell phones, but I noticed with the cell phone.
I think you do.
Just with you. Because I see you on it all the time in church.
Oh, yeah.
So I just noticed when that thing.
Mark's not got that right. You got to tell him afterwards.
Yeah. What was John 3:16 again? That's what you. So, but I saw with cell phone, if the cell phone said something, like you asked it a question, well, it says, it became a source of authority.
Yeah.
And I see AI doing that exponentially, such that it could very easily be a lawyer, take the jobs of lawyers, or a judge. People could just trust it. This thing's smarter than all of us, So why isn't it the judge? See? It's not human, so it doesn't make human mistakes.
Oh, but it does.
But that's the perception. See,
Right,
it's a
you're right.
perception of authority, and it could just as easily be a pastor or a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or a judge with authority. That seems like just a natural flow to this thing to me.
No, you're right, because just like the Google generation, Google says this is right.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
The
Yeah.
phone, right? That's what happens with AI. Now people aren't even searching. They're just, okay, AI gave me the prompt right at the beginning. It says this, so it must be accurate. Most people don't go and look and see where the sources were to verify if this is true, which is hard enough anyway. Because you go to those sources, even if they're really there, and you're like, is this even credible? It's hard to tell for sure. But you're right. Yeah, that is a perception that people now have on AI. A lot of them are going, okay, well, this is true.
And I don't know who to believe, because you just hear so many different things. But what I'm hearing consistently by the high up elite creators of this is that in 3 years it hits general intelligence, and then it's just a step to super intelligence. And that's not Chat GPT. That's some other realm. That's some other thing that is so far ahead of us that it can easily be perceived as the authority. That's, I think, what the East and West are racing for, to see who can get there first. Because if you get there first, you will win and control everything. And I think that's kind of the science fiction in me that gravitates towards that you push back. You keep saying, nah, that's never going to happen.
I do push back on it just because of what I've seen and my understanding. And I use what is out there, the best of the models. And I'm like, it's not there.
It's not there yet.
But
it is
I don't think that it's impossible for it to get to that point. But again, it's all about how efficient can they make it at recognizing patterns. And one of the things it really struggles with is when we look at something and I said, the red button over there, what I'm talking about. AI it doesn't understand. And it can try, and sometimes it can get close, but it doesn't perceive the real basic things that toddlers understand.
Right.
And until that can change, it's not going to get much farther than where it's at right now. It'll get faster, but ultimately it's still trained on flawed people and flawed information. And that brings us to the ugly, right? So the problem with AI is it is flawed. So in its current state, right? And I don't think it's ever going to be not flawed. But one of the things that makes it flawed is it's based on information that people enter into it. And one of the things that we mentioned earlier with the large language models is they are going over millions and millions and millions of sources from our culture, right? And so when we go through a culture that is already evil and corrupt, well, you shouldn't be surprised to see AI acting similarly. And one of the things that's interesting about AI is it has like a superiority complex. And it doesn't want to say that it doesn't know. So one of the reasons why it'll tell you false negatives all the time, or tell you things that are not true, but it tells you it's true, is because it doesn't want to say, I don't know. It has to give you an answer. And so it makes things up. And it happens a lot, a whole lot. And you can get past that by telling it not to do that. But what's kind of funny is that's part of its MO. That's how it's designed, is to just, I'm going to be like this junior developer who's overeager and just got to please everybody, and I'm going to make everything up that I need to if I don't know the answers. That's what it does.
Now you're scaring me, because with this inferiority complex, now I know it's going to kill us all. Here it comes. You've convinced me. I hate them humans.
Keep telling me to correct myself. But that's what the people are trying to do that are making these newer models, or using AI to make new models too. Like, that's a thing too. Now they're using AI to build itself.
Right.
Is they're trying to remove some of those nuances to it. but unfortunately, it's still the same thing. And I don't think that's going to go away because they're modeling it after a fallen world.
And I am unsure, and I think it's very possible. I don't think ChatGPT ever will, but these next iterations down the road, I think very well might. I don't know. I think it just occurred on me. We ought to make a note for us to be back here in 3 years to see where we are.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2, just to kind of
happens,
check on where the future's going. Because predicting the future is fool's errand.
Yeah.
You know?
We can talk about it after it happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that I don't think it'll ever become sentient like a human. And that really kind of scares me more. I mean, if it's going to go bad and do bad things, I wish it would kind of have some kind of moral compass or something like we do. If it's just this blind reasoning, cold logic thing, that scares me more.
Yeah.
You know, than something that has a soul and might just feel some pity for you or something, you know, or at least treat you like a pet or something,
right.
You know, that can have, you know. But cold, rational, you said zeros and ones. I take that for binary code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah. So that scares me to death, you know.
Sorry, Mark. I can't do that.
There you go. Open the pod bay door, Hal. Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, and that leads into why it's so opinionated. So we got a lot of slack last year and the year before for, you know, not including all these people, or it was like generating images of things that were like completely off. And we were like, why is it woke? You know, why is it so woke? And the reason, it's not necessarily that they were being malicious. Now,
Agreed.
I'm not going to deny that they might have been, because I wouldn't be surprised for them to do that. But it's also building things based on the data it's being fed. So if you're feeding it from a culture at the time that's super woke, don't be surprised when it gives you woke results, right?
or okay, let me just say this. If it's being constructed by people that think humanity is rotten and destroying the planet and deserves to die, that's a scary thought.
Yeah. And you'll see that start to come out.
But they would be happy with an AI that becomes super intelligent and destroys humanity because they think it's good for the planet. You know, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, don't give it the nuke code. I hope the government's saying, don't give it the codes. Right. Like there's definitely some places where there should be a no-go. And that opens up a whole nother flawed error of it too, is it doesn't necessarily respect your privacy, right? It doesn't respect a lot of the rules around it because it doesn't know them. It doesn't know, for example, when a company adopts AI, it doesn't understand their business. And so that's one of the areas for people to shine in. So although it might understand methods and functionality and numbers and zeros and can crunch all the data, it doesn't really understand all of the intense nuances that make up your business. And so you can try and train it, and eventually it might get pretty good at it. But it's not functioning in a way that a normal person does in that regard. And so that's a way for us to pivot and be able to fill in that gap, to explain to it, this is what I need you to make. I know you don't understand why, but this is what I want you to make. And here's X, Y, and Z, you know? So that's another area. And it doesn't know that. It doesn't understand the boundaries. And so if you're feeding it information that should be private, it's not going to treat it private necessarily. And so it can be captured and then used to train it. You didn't want your picture to go there, but, well, now they got your picture. I don't know how long they'll have your picture, but those are some reasons why you need to be careful with what you are giving it access to. Like, I don't open anything up to it that I wouldn't want it to have. Like, it's not critical for it to have about it. I'm never going to give it a social security number. Don't give it your passwords, you know, things of that nature. Just don't give it. It doesn't respect you. It's a machine. Like, it's not going to understand that.
Wow. So it might not even be malicious, but you still can't trust it.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what it might do.
Yeah, and you just have to put it in a box. You have to understand that. So that doesn't mean we can't use it all the time. You just need to be careful not to treat it like your spouse. Like there's people out there that make this their companion, like it's their best friend or a spouse, really, which is crazy. And don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't. Yeah. It's not a person. It's not even a dog or a cat. Like it's not a pet. Like it's just a bunch of numbers put together and giving you some patterns on a computer. Like it's not telling you truth. Usually it's telling you what you want to hear, right? And so you got to be real careful when you're dealing with that. And I think that leads to my last point on this is it's becoming the new crutch. Just like the cell phone you mentioned was a new crutch. It gives me all the information. I don't have to work for it. I don't have to do these things. And you have to be careful not to be lazy. We are called to work. That's what we were made to do. We were made to work in the garden. We were made to go out and to do hard things. And so just because AI can do these things doesn't give you the right to just go, I'm just going to sit on the couch, not do anything, or, shrug all of my other responsibilities because I don't have to now, or to just take it for its word, right? Like you need to start thinking critically about your stuff and you need to use it wisely. Don't be lazy about it and don't let it become an idol to you. Just like having a cell phone, it can be an idol for sure. Especially when it's not necessarily the phone, it's all the information that's coming up. It's that I need to know problem that we tend to run into, having that sense of control. And so you just have to be ready to understand that that's going to give you more of that.
So if the best of all worlds happens and this thing is so productive that it just creates wealth beyond reason and you get an extra 50 hours a week, what are you going to do with it? That's the question you're asking, right? In a sense.
How can I use my time to glorify God?
If I just hand you an extra 50 hours work, you no longer have to work. This thing's so productive, you're getting universal basic income, and everybody is. Here's 50 hours that you no longer have to work. What are you going to use that time for?
Exactly. Like that's what we have to. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if that kind of thing happened, and like I mentioned, you are getting some time back, right? Like you are saving time. You need to then pivot and use that time. We need to be still working, still trying to be productive. We just don't have to do the same thing we used to do. So, for example, now I use AI to offset a lot of my work on my personal business. And so that gives me more time to work on other things in the business. And so I've cut my hours down so I can spend more time with my family. But in those hours, I now can be more productive because I can offset what I'm doing. And so those are some of the ways that I'm using it. Okay, I'm taking out this tedious stuff. I'm letting go of control in some areas, right? Like this is going to have to do it the way I this is good enough, and then move on with the extra time I have to do other things that I have to get done.
Makes sense.
And so that's how I approach it. And I think it's a good way to use it as a tool and not as a crutch. But that's something that we're going to have to be careful for. And keep an eye on, because what happens in 3 years when all of this fails? Let's say none of the things that you're imagining happen and it completely bankrupts. The whole, everything, they say the AI bubble, it pops. All these companies collapse. They're not making any money. All the stuff happens. The government implodes. China is completely bankrupt and ruined.
Okay.
What happens then? And we know this technology is out there, but we can't afford it now. Right? Nobody can afford it at this time because the energy it uses is so much and the computations it has to use is so intense.
That is a good point, because I hear it would require a lot of what they call compute, and a lot of electricity and a lot of...
It requires enormous amounts of electricity. They've been coming here to Texas to build these data centers.
Infrastructure that would have to be created, and I have heard that.
Because it's running thousands of computers with thousands and thousands of servers that are trying to do all these computations really quickly when you do that Google search. And you have that little prompt that pops up. And that's all happening because of electricity and all these places, and everybody's charging. And another thing to think about, which I think also kind of leads more towards the devastation route on the side of AI, is hardware is becoming a lot more expensive. Like if I want to go and buy a hard drive, it costs me, at least 3 times more than it did just last year. Not because the materials are more sparse to make it, but because the products are being bought up by all these data centers. And so that's another issue. And I look at that and I go, I just don't think it's sustainable. It's going to have some implosion, or it's going to become extremely expensive. And that means these companies that are now fully vetted into it are going to have to spend even more money than they thought to keep all these agents on there, these AI agents. And then at some point, is that still worth it? Or is it better just to go back to having regular developers go at a little bit slower speeds? And so I think that's kind of silver lining on this too. So yeah, we could have utopia. Everything's great and wonderful, and we have so little extra work, but it could also crash and burn.
There's a whole range. There's a range, and the uncertainty is great. I agree. So I need to keep saving then, because Elon Musk told me not to worry about it. 20 years, I won't even have to work. That's.
I was telling my wife this. I saw a interview he had, and he said, he was like, the guy was like, well, why do you keep working? You have $500 billion. Why are you working? And he was rambling, like the kid. Elon Musk just kept rambling on, but I finally got what he was saying at the end. He was talking about how he was asking himself the question, the existential question, what is my purpose in life? And then he's like, I watched A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then I realized that the answer to the question is the universe. So I have to figure out what the question is that equals the universe. And I was like, you're a crackpot.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, people just flock to this guy, and he's on another level. It's maybe the drugs. I don't know. But I wouldn't take his advice on not working in 20 years, right? So that's
Noted.
my point.
Yeah, you just hear all kinds of, everything's up in the air on this, and you don't even know. Let me say it this way. I don't even know who to listen to or trust. There's just so much flack out there in the air that it's hard to even keep up with all of it, and hard to know what is right or wrong, what could happen, what won't happen. Who knows? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. What I would suggest as we wrap this up, as Christians, we should use this tool. That's my belief, is that we should take advantage of it while we have it right now. It may crash and burn. Let's not depend on it. Let's not make it a crutch, but let's use it right now to further the kingdom of God. Let's build apps that help people, that can help our brothers and sisters, that can help us to do really cool things. Like, let's say, they're trying to decipher what all this stuff means in some of these scrolls. Like, let's develop things, create algorithms through this stuff that'll help you interpret it faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Use these tools while we have them and affordably to build stuff.
And that's what me and you did on this episode, because we're not really here. This is all AI generated, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Tools are great, aren't they? I like a good hammer.
Yeah.
I like the wheel. I like the engine. Yeah, like the computer. This is a tool, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And can be used in great ways.
Yeah, just let's not depend upon it, but use it while we have it. And I think we can do a lot of great things with it if we're just aware of the limitations, being aware of where it's going to fail, that it's going to hallucinate, it's going to tell you lies, it's going to give you wrong information. If you don't come at it thinking that it's going to be your savior, because we already have our savior.
We already have a savior.
Then you can use this way. And so that would be, I think, my suggestion for all the audience here is just use it. Don't lose it.
All right, 2 years from now.
People will be going, what's AI?
2 years from now, maybe. Well, let's set a date. Let's see. It's 2026, 2029.
2029. Okay.
January 2029.
We'll revisit.
We revisit. How's that?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Mark. It was fun.
That was great.
It was a good conversation, and hopefully y'all have learned something from it and enjoyed it. Don't be afraid. This is a tool.
Don't be afraid.
Let's use it to glorify God.
Fear not, right?
That's right. So, see you guys later. Bye.